you, Dr. Pierre Vincenzi. Now we'll go to questions. I'll turn it over to Senator Ron Johnson.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for holding this hearing. This may be the most important hearing of this Congress, maybe many Congresses. Now, it's not getting much attention, but it needs to. I first became aware of our vulnerability in February of 2020, my first hearing as Chairman of Homeland Security about the pandemic, and I had Scott Gottlieb, Judy Gerberding there. I had no idea that we were so dependent on advanced or API and the precursor chemicals on China and India. Have we done anything about it? No. We passed a $1.25 trillion infrastructure bill, didn't even address it. So I think the issue is how do you bring the manufacturing back to the U.S. where it can be inspected properly, right? It's not an easy task, but part of the problem is the precursor chemicals, that's refining. And that needs permitting. And that's expensive to do in America, which is why we've offshored it to China. So, how do we do it? I mean, what I like, and this was Mr. Ball's suggestion here, and I'd love to co-sponsor this bill with you, just simply requiring labeling in terms of where the drug comes from. That'll put a tremendous pressure on the companies to reshore these things. Not going to happen overnight, but government edicts, spending money to bring, what you could do potentially is just not tax somebody who brings a refinery over here, but you got to be able to permit it. So, I mean, there's so many impediments to this. This is a very complex issue, but we've got to start doing the basics first. But the first one is, again, understanding the problem, acknowledging we have it, understanding how vulnerable we truly are. Things like heparin. I mean, we've known about this for years, and we've literally done nothing about it. So again, I'm looking for really the most practical first steps we can take. And we can talk about all kinds of complex solutions, but would you agree that just the labeling itself, I mean, that'd be a pretty easy bill to pass. Be interesting to see if we could. Anybody? I guess I want from all four of you, what is your number one single first step that we could take here to address this? And by the way, first it starts with information. And we need a lot more information. Again, there's all this, you've all mentioned the pricing pressure, right? We're all beating up on drug companies overpricing. Well, the fact is, on generics, it's probably underpriced is what you're telling us. But let's just go down the list and just give me kind of the one thing that the first step we ought to take.
From my perspective, I think enforcing the existing laws as they are already written through the authority of the FDA and DOJ would let the good players know that it's going to be a level playing field for them. And so
we have laws that are not being enforced. Why? I mean, how would you enforce them?
It's difficult to enforce them at the moment because of the issue of drug shortages. So when issues are uncovered at some of these factories, they're allowed to. They're just carved out the ability to keep supplying these drugs, because if they were prevented from entering the U.S., then we'd have a supply chain issue, right? A shortage issue. So it's going to have to be weaning off of that situation, but it's going to have to start with letting everybody know that the laws are going to be enforced, and it's going to.
So
yeah.
One thing Congress relies on is whistleblowers. I've been trying to pull information out of government agencies for many years now. Okay, they don't give up their secrets very well. Will there be whistleblowers that will tell us of those instances where there's a quality problem here and FDA just looked the other way? I mean, we're going to need examples of that.
Absolutely. FDA works with whistleblowers all over the world, pretty much on a daily or weekly basis.
So I guess I would encourage whistleblowers to come forward to this committee or permanent subcommittee investigation. Tell us your story so we can highlight that, so we can expose it, so we actually start enforcing our laws. Mr. Ball, I already used yours, but if you got a better one.
Well, I agree with you, obviously, because it was something I talked about, but it's the only marketplace where firms do not reveal their quality and consumers that purchase a product cannot assess it. And so the marketplace is not allowed to work properly for the generic drugs. If quality and location are transparent, the market would fix, in my view, and from the research we've done, quite a bit of the problem. because market forces would then start to reward high-quality manufacturers and punish low-quality ones. It's a relatively inexpensive solution because it's somewhat the invisible hand of the market would fix this issue if the market was no longer opaque. But when it's opaque, the market is broken. And we've thought long and hard about other comparable markets like this, and there are very few.
Right.
So I think transparency of both quality and location is the answer.
I use that when I said it's about information. Consumers need information, which we don't have right now. Mr. Daniels.
So I think the biggest thing from my perspective is right now we have economic coercion on the other side that's keeping these key starting materials in particular at artificially low prices. That's not actually how much they cost to manufacture. They're significantly subsidized. They're in free economic zones. In many cases, they're using labor that is insufficient in order to conduct these operations. And so there's got to be an economic disincentive, some sort of AD/CVD against the KSMs that China's dumping into the market in order to create a U.S. domestic market that's available and viable. And there are today, whether it's in fermentation for critical key starting materials for antibiotics, or it's for drugs like heparin, there are continuous flow manufacturing capabilities that we could bring to the United States. And everyone thinks it's going to take some huge delta between the current price and the future price to bring investment into a market. It's not. I mean, you remember in 2008, we had gas prices spike. IKEA brought Swedwood, their furniture manufacturing, back to Danville, North Carolina, because of the small additional cost that sat on the top of every piece of furniture. They brought their entire manufacturing capability
As long as we can
back.
permit it. So I
Yeah,
suggest,
the permitting is a big
suggest
piece.
all of you help us identify those drugs or drug that we need to start with.
Yeah.
You start with one, succeed in that, and then move forward. Mr. Pierre Vincenzi, I think I got that right.
Thank you,
Close.
Senator Johnson. Perfectly. Thank you. Appreciate that. I would suggest a market-based resiliency benchmark, which is a positive incentive. It would need to be market-based. It would absolutely require the government to kickstart it. And this would reward the resiliency of having a secure facility has past inspections on a consistent basis. All the things we know. And in fact, we created a draft of these type of benchmarks that incorporate just about every factor that was shared, very much including location of production, your own supply chain. And from that, even if we were to start, let's say, in hospital systems for hospital-used drugs as a starting point, although I'm not saying it's the whole solution, and then put a hook on that where hospitals have to reward this through a better contract, a slightly better price. And these are the cheapest medicines, which means a better price is still not going to break the bank.
I think hospitals are still going to be opaque. I think it's got to be consumers. And if you have too many elements of that benchmark, again, it's going to be difficult to pass. So that's why I'm kind of looking, how about just country of origin as a starting point? But anyway, Mr. Chairman, honestly, this is an incredibly important hearing. I want to work very closely with you and your witnesses and other experts on this, and we need whistleblowers. The only way this gets passed in Congress is that the American public has to understand how vulnerable we are and what risk they're at, okay? But thank you for this hearing.
Thank you.